Today we're going to be making a chai cake infused with Angostura Aromatic Bitters. And as a lover of tea and all things tea related, I do hope you enjoy this. So the first step, we're going to scald the milk because it has to cool naturally before we add it into the batter at the end. And to do that, we're just going to have it on a medium flame. Milk burns very easily, so you have to be very careful with this particular process. And we just want the milk to just start to bubble, and then we immediately turn it off. So to that, we're going to have bay leaf, cardamom, clove, star of anise, cinnamon stick. So we're going to add that to it now. And just let it come to that gentle boil. And as that comes to the boil, then we move on to the next process, which is to steep the tea bag in it. The gentle boil is happening. We probably have about 5 to 10 seconds again. And the nice thing about it is when you add the tea bags to it and you cover, you have to cover your pot, it is going to allow everything to open up. So the cardamom pods are going to open up, the cinnamon stick, everything is going to open up because of the heat. So we're going to take this off now because it has come to that gentle boil that we need. And we're going to add our tea bags to it and cover the pot. We are using vanilla tea bags. And I mean, you could use regular black tea bags as well, but I like that the tea bag has added something to it. And these are some of my favorite tea bags as well, so why not? Just going to put that in there. Yeah, we're just going to let that do its thing naturally, steep. The color is going to change because of the things inside of it. The tea bag, of course, is going to add more color. So your milk is not going to just look like milk. It's going to look like chai. And that is exactly what it is. So here we have our sugar and our butter, room temperature butter. But be very careful with the room temperature because it does not mean Trinidad hot room temperature. It's more of the AC room temperature, like 18 to 19 degrees inside. Because if it is you leave this to get to that particular room temperature as we know it, you're going to have oil on your hands or clarified butter. Scoop our butter in. We're going to add the salt one time. And we're going to start mixing. Now you have to be careful when you're mixing. You have to start on a gentle blend because then you're going to have butter and sugar all over the place. Very careful. You could always increase the speed later on. And you have to be very careful over mixing your butter and sugar because that could happen. It could become too fluffy if that's a thing, but it is. And it's good to have your spatula nearby because you're going to need to scrape down the sides of your bowl as it starts to really come together. So we're going to be here for about 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. We're going to monitor. We have a few more minutes for this. It's not quite where we want it as yet. It's still too granular at this point. So we just want to incorporate a little bit more of the sugar into the mix. The more you mix cream, butter and sugar, the color starts to change. It becomes a little bit lighter. You're going to notice that as well when you do it for yourself, which is also an indicator of doneness when it's almost ready. Right, so you're going to notice the difference between when we started creaming the butter and sugar and the difference now. So I learned recently, now you're never too old to learn, but I learned recently that when it is you cream too much, the cake, it comes too light. It is way too light. You do want a little bit of density, a little bit of body to it, essentially. So this right here, what we have is perfect to start adding the first egg. And when we add the eggs, we don't add them all at once. We do them one by one and incorporate each egg for about 30 seconds to a minute until the mixture itself is aerated and lighter. You're going to feel the difference as you're beating it yourself. Aerated mixture You're gonna feel the difference when it is you move your spatula in the mix. It's going to feel light. This is our milk. Off camera, we strained it, so we squeezed the tea bag to make sure every essence is inside of here. It smells very good. I mean, if it is you want to drink it now as is, that's up to you. But you don't have to make more of it if you want to do the cake. So we're going to add to this some liberal splashes of the Angostura Aromatic Bitters. I'm going to do that now. So I'm doing this in 2 parts actually, because I really want to get the cake infused with it. So that was about maybe 4 dashes. I mean, in this bottle, the hole is a little bit bigger. So when you pump your hand, you're pumping. You're just going to let this kusame and do its thing here. I'm going to smell it. Yes, it smells like bitters chai. It's nice. So be very careful when it is you're doing the scalding process. You should add maybe a quarter cup to a half cup more of milk, because you're going to lose some of your 10 ounces in the boiling, the scalding process. So just be very careful with that. We're going to add our spices to our flour, our baking powder as well, because we really want to get the chai in this cake. So clove, cinnamon, the lovely nutmeg. I heard a ridiculous joke the other day about a lady that ate 10 grams of nutmeg powder and she started to hallucinate with it. But so please be wary. When I say a taste, I mean just a taste of nutmeg. Not a measured out 10 ounces or 10 grams. That's just way too much. It's a very potent little nut. Baking powder. Right, and you're going to see those nice brown flecks in your flour, which looks aesthetically quite pleasing when it is you cut the cake. And so now that the flour is ready, we have our butter and sugar and our milk. So we're going to start with dry and end with dry. That simply just means we're going to start with the flour, alternate with the milk, and then end with the flour. That's the last thing we're going to add to this mix here. So just literally eyeballing how much flour you're going to start with, using the back of this spoon spatula here. And we've been very gentle with it because we don't want flour flying all over the place. I'm just going to add some of the milk to help us incorporate our flour. This actually reminds me of sassafras tea. The color on this is so similar. For y'all that don't know, sassafras is a tree bark that, I mean, that's what my mother gave me for cooling. And it's a delightful tea. It's unfortunate I can't find it in the pharmacies here anymore. But if anybody knows where, let me know. Our mix is incorporated, and I'm going to tell you something. We don't want to overmix this because we don't want tunneling. Those are those little air pockets that you would see when it is you have a baked good. Mostly you get them in muffins when they overmix a muffin. But as one of the reasons why, as soon as it's incorporated, we give it a few folds just to make sure that any flour that is caught at the bottom is incorporated. So to finish off this, we're just going to add another dash or 2 of the Angostura bitters to really make sure it's in there, and any other little flavoring that you may have wanted. But doing the bitters 2-part really intensifies the flavor. It does. Just fold this in quickly. It's very nice. It's not granular. Everything is incorporated really nicely. It has body. Yeah, just good. So we're going to pan this mix now. And you could use whatever pan of choice that you want. I prefer to use a 9x13 pan, which I already prepped with some greaseproof paper. So I'm going to bring that and we're going to pan it out. Right, so we took the time to preheat our oven to 350 Fahrenheit or 180 Celsius, depending on which oven you have, what type. So now we're just going to spoon our mix along the bowl, and I'm doing it like this because I want to get as little air pockets as possible in the mix. But at the end, I'm going to give the pan a little knock. So we're just going to spread the batter as evenly as possible in the pan. I'm just going to give this a little knock. Yeah, that settles that up. And we're going to pop this in the oven, and then we're going to wait for it to bake, not so patiently, and then cut ourselves a wedge. Right, so this is our finished chai cake. While I depanned and everything, I made a very quick buttercream, also infused with aromatic bitters, to go on top because I think it pairs really well with it. It has a little bit of a toffee flavor and the aromatic flavor together. So it's going to enhance the flavors of the cake. A thin layer is going to go on top because we don't want it to overpower the already intense flavors happening within the cake itself. And let me just give it a very thin layer. Some deft motions. So we're just sprinkling our nuts for that textural difference, and because it looks pretty when it's on top, the different shades of brown. And we're going to do ourselves the honor of cutting a nice little chunk. And we see how beautifully that baked. I like a centerpiece. Don't ask me why, but I do. So my mouth is salivating a little bit. I'm going to just pour myself a cup of tea here. As I said, I'm a lover of the tea. Nice chunk. I want to taste it with all the ice in first. That's moist. I'm saying this surpriser, but I surprise myself all the time. Tasting everything. Wow. Guys, this is a good cake. Do yourself a service, put on your apron and just start. That is a good cake. All the flavors just coming together so nicely. And the bitters is smooth in this. It's not overpowering, it's just smooth. It enhances what was already there. Really nice, really nice. Just have the cake. Make the cake and just eat it. Thank you again for joining us today here on eatahfood. We made a lovely chai cake here today. I hope you took note of all the steps and my little tidbits. I want to thank Angostura, and the use of the Angostura Aromatic Bitters just made the cake that much more delectable. You have no idea, and you will have an idea if you try it. So please do. Thank you.